Welcome back. Of course, this is K24 this morning. We're looking at the big stories of the day, and your contribution, of course, on your views as far as the news is concerned is welcomed at K24 TV. If you're on SMS, you can do that on 21222. We have McDonald Makanga, good morning, tuned in from Dagoretti, loving the discussion going on right there. I think I also need to read that BBI report in Yelewe Mimi Wenyewe. Good stuff, Mr. McDonald. Let's talk about what had been spoken on just before we took the break. The president and his CSs, and how some of them are massively underperforming, according to that particular tweet. One CS who went in for grilling yesterday at the DCI, CS Chelagui, over the stalled 35 billion shilling Itare Dam. They've already paid 11 billion shillings here. The project is at 30%. It almost feels like, as a government, we're very quick to dish out this cash. Handle the project when you want to handle the project, but...
Call the dishing out this cash. In fact, that's actually a very good way of stealing. It's called front-loading. And Mheshimiwa can tell you about front-loading. To me, front-loading is a crime. Front-loading is telling me I've given you a tender and I'm giving you a certain percentage up front. When you win a tender, you win that tender on the strength.
You have the capacity to
You have the capacity to build. Why am I front-loading you? Why should the government front-load you? By the way, if you ask me, this is theft. No other contract. I can understand. I can understand the bank. What do you call it? The bank guarantee. I can understand that, and that's a common practice. But the front-loading, this to me is, in fact, it's the biggest conduit for corruption.
And even as you look at this particular issue, as the grilling was happening yesterday, some of the tweets that came in, the public sentiment was that this is just going to go down the road. All other, cases go. We'll see them in being grilled for a while. He might appear in court. And then 5 years down the line, they'll be asking, what happened to that particular case? And they were asking, why does it take so long when it's such Herculean amounts of money? When it's in the billions, we can't seem to find where it went or prosecute somebody successfully.
Because everybody wants to it. But Jeff, I do not want you to lose that sight of that process. If you ask so many people, and this is not on Chelagui alone, so many government projects have actually been front-loaded.
Right.
And that front-loading is actually why I'm telling you it's a conduit for corruption, because that's why I expect to get my kickback. And let me tell you, the projects that have been written to having attained a certain percentage, they tell you, oh, that project is at 80%. When you go on the ground, it is like 10%. Because you get the front loading, you do something kidogo, and then you go back, raise a certificate, raise another certificate. And you know, when the situation, that tender process becomes that mushy, 5 years is gone. And it no longer becomes your problem.
Right.
It becomes a problem of the person who comes to that new office.
And let me get to Mark on this, because even as you look at that particular story, the blame game is already happening, because Chelagui is saying, I wasn't in office when this happened. It was the CS Wamalwa who was in office at that particular point in time. We need to talk to the PS. And the blame game happens. But we look at the Star's front page. There's a top state official who's supposed to give back 113 million shillings. He was a senior accountant in the Interior Ministry. They managed to successfully track the 113 million shillings. Why, when it gets to the billions, it's hard to follow the paper trail, it's hard to get who's responsible, and cases drag on for years on end.
Well, first, the zeros are too many. And when the zeros are too many, if you remember Kimwarere, there was Italy, there was Dubai, there was like 3-4 different countries.
There was a bank in Westlands as well.
Westlands, you know, the money was just being shifted like this. And trust me, I've had the privilege of sitting down with some of the heads of these departments just to understand how this thing is done. And asset recovery is not an easy task. And even our laws do not help that process, because our laws are very post the case. Because, you know, it's funny. If you are arrested for stealing my car and it is proven you stole my car, after you are jailed, it does not necessarily mean I get back my car unless it was physically found. It's a different process to get the car. So that's one part. But let me tell you something. First, our CSs need to be told that when you take over an institution, you take it over all its good stuff and bad stuff. When we give you a position, we expect you to clean up the past and build the future. That is the expectation of the people. Am I correct? Yes, that's what is expected. So this blame game, if today I was given a position in government, the first thing that you must do is look backwards and say, what do we need to fix? And this guy didn't need to look very far. The name of the company, CMCD Ravenna. Google it, my friend. Google it. Google that name, and I'm telling you, it will scare the holy hell out of you. You understand? Come on. How many... Gabriel, CMCD Ravenna, if you are told to give them 10 shillings,
No,
would you?
I wouldn't.
You can't. Because this is a country that has, this is an institution that has declared itself bankrupt by its own admission. Said, listen, these projects we can't do. Has been banned from how many countries? As in, honestly, a simple Google search.
Including Italy.
Yes, including where it comes from. It's been banned. And then a simple Google search would have saved you 19 billion. And then you're playing a blame game? Come on. But this is one of those things, by the way, that I think, though the president has gotten his fingers burnt before by doing it, I think he should do it. Because he says that before he fired CSs, and then they were exonerated by the investigative agencies. And now his policy has been, he waits until you have been taken to court, and then he fires you. Mr. President, I understand where you're coming from, but I disagree with you. Right. Because I honestly think, at the smell of corruption, at the smell of incompetence, someone should be fired. Right. Your CSs should be immaculate, my friend. They should be dressing up for you and acting the way Esther was acting when she was being prepared to meet the king. They should be perfect. No, seriously, they should be perfect. Because at any given time, they not only represent the president, they represent the Kenyan people. So can you imagine tomorrow, he is called to a water conference somewhere at the EU, and someone, when he gives them the card, they Google. Then the next day, instead of discussing water projects in this country, they'll spend 6 hours discussing the character of this fellow. Right. That's the truth. That's what happens.
You know what happens? you know, something must happen in this country. And maybe not all is lost, because, let me tell you, the DCI, anti-corruption, and Hajj are godsend for our country. You know, when you see this thing that anti-corruption has traced some money and we have recovered, it means they're working. If you see that DCI is grilling Chelugoi, it means they are working. You know, to be grilled does not mean you are guilty. Right. But when were payments done? Those are, I'm not a detective. But if I was, I can piece this out for them. I don't think I'm not intelligent. If you say that you are not in office at that time, whoever was, when were payments done, and what these things? There's one common thing with this thing, and there's one part which Muthuma missed. This loading of projects begins with the budget of parliament.
Yes.
You cannot sort this mess out until you include parliamentary thieves in parliament. And that is, you must know, look at the committee chairs in parliament, right, and look at the strength of the noise. You will see that they are all benefiting. I can comfortably accuse them. If any one of them thinks, I don't know. You know, if, look at this, the Ravenna farm. It gets a contract which is not tendered. The contract is 66 billion. So where was the opportunity? What is a dam? A dam isn't it just digging a reservoir for water? What happened to our contractors? What is their opportunity? In other words, the Aror and Kimwarer are many, and most 99% of the projects that are happening today, and many of them are being done by Chinese. These ones just happen to be done by
an Italian firm.
An Italian firm. They are not projects for you to benefit. They are projects for theft. And
so at the very onset, they're designed for money to get out.
I met somebody yesterday at a Nairobi club gym. And she was telling me something very interesting. She was with the wife of a minister the other day and saying, we know we may be fired anytime, but only thing we will do is to reveal the people around Uhuru whom we have been stealing with. That's how brave the thieves have gotten. This is not the minister himself. This is the wife. You see, what are they telling us? You cannot do projects against procurement rules. You cannot go to Kisumu, you are saying you are building a port, which the president himself has gone so many times, without advertisement. Then 3-4 months later, you are telling us 800 million has been stolen. What do you want us to do? You cannot. The procurement rules are to protect pilferage and then to check costs. You know, you cannot have a country where you have built SGR up to somewhere in Suswa, and we have never seen the contract with the Chinese. Even Parliament is not demanding it. You cannot. I mean, theft is theft done by whichever side of government. We cannot do this. There's too many people benefiting, and they're threatening each other. We shall arrest you if you keep that politics, or if you fire us, we shall. We will do this. So our only hope here is a man whom I don't know, but I'm told does not like corruption, called Kinoti. Hajj. And the ESCC, Twalib. They're doing a perfect job. When you wake up and read this, it means there is hope for the future. In fact, I think we are scratching the surface. It's only this negative politics which is stopping us. You know, when people tell you we want to lead you in 2022 and all this, and not tell you how they are going to fix the same mess they have created. Like you can only read that they want to go in there and keep stealing.
And there's something interesting that Mark had also brought up in terms of the laws that are in place in terms of asset recovery. Yes. Should the House, Parliament, try and revisit those laws so that it can be easier for those three gentlemen who have been spoken about in doing their job, in getting their money back? Because very many Kenyans are tired of the grilling. They just want, where is the 11 billion? Can we get that back to the economy? Deal with those guys later. That's a sentiment that's on the ground right now.
The biggest problem that we have is the same Parliament you're trusting to come up with these laws. You will have to do asset recovery on them. And I'll tell you why. It's basic mathematics. If an MP, okay, spends about how much? 60 to 100 million to campaign. And his salary in Parliament, maximum, is 1 million per month, which means he earns 12 million per year, which you multiply by 5 years is 60 million. So who gets into a business where his return on investment is what he put in? So that clearly tells you that a lot of our MPs are in office looking for their own gain. Let's just be very clear. So they're in it not for business. They're in it to make sure they turn a blind eye when companies such as the Rovena are given contracts. Right? Because that pie has to be sliced. That's just the bottom line. And if you ask yourself the question, why aren't they the ones to have questioned this thing first? Because before it comes to the notice of DCI and DPP, I can tell you for free that the Auditor General must have caught it in an audit query. But what do they do with audit queries? They yawn. They go to Parliament and they yawn and they are bored because there's nothing to do today. And they twiddle their thumbs and they wonder, where shall we go to gallivant around this country and needlessly argue about BBI? So the truth of the matter is this. We do need to tighten our laws. We need to tighten our civil forfeiture laws. We need to tighten our laws about recovery even before the case is finished. Asset freezing, I don't think, is enough. The truth of the matter is, if they go into my account today and they find even 1 shilling I cannot account for and say, I consulted for this and this, or I did this work, or I did that, the nation should be able to seize that money without having to wait for any other process. Because if I cannot explain where I got my money, then definitely I stole it. There's no other way to get money. Either you got it as a gift or you worked for it. It does not magically appear in your account. And if it magically appears in your account, it is fraud. So it must be taken. Okay. So there are certain basic things that we can do. But I can tell you, between them moving around and gallivanting the country, talking about nonsense, you think any of them can, even one neuron in their brain can fire up and think of such a thing? No. Even when they are listening to us today, you think one of them will go write a bill hastily and go to parliament and say, we want laws. Let me ask them a question. When they read the BBI report, and this is the funniest thing, who has stopped them from taking one matter, just one matter, and I'll give you an example because I'm a businessman. One simple matter of saying that when you do business with an SME, whether you're a government or you're a blue chip company in this country, you need to pay within 1 month. Just a basic thing. Instead of telling us, oh, this thing should go to parliament, my friend, you have the power of the pen and the power of the floor. Go write a bill.
Correct.
Stop lazily telling us this nonsense. Go write a bill and say that, you know what, these companies that owe Mark Bichachi this amount of money need to pay him within 1 month. That's what they should be doing. Okay. But do you think they will do that? No. When they say they wanted to go to parliament, what has stopped them from saying, you know what, as a parliament we can sit down and say, by the way, CSS should go to public hospitals? What has stopped them? Do they need a presidential permission to do the right thing? No, no one has stopped them. Do you know what they're thinking about? Greed.
Okay, as we ponder on that, I want us to move on and bring it closer home, of course, to the county of Nairobi and the parking fee issue that had caused quite the furore when motorists were wondering, should we come with the cars or not? And that's where we take this discussion as well. A bit of reprieve as we get into December proper. The Consumer Federation of Kenya, COFEC, sued the Nairobi County government for doubling parking fees within the Nairobi Central Business District to 400 shillings from the original 200 shillings. Motorists were by 4 p.m. yesterday still paying 400 shillings despite a court order barring its implementation. In case you missed all of that, of course, let's take a look at this and we discuss this particular story. Of course, a spot check in Nairobi revealed that despite things having gotten back to normal with both private and public vehicles dotting the city streets, many had already been subjected to the fees that COFEC termed as unreasonable, punitive and discriminatory, though City Hall is yet to respond to a court order in its entirety. Nairobi residents hope that the county government will obey the court order and save them from the exorbitant fees, which are just another nail in the coffin of an economy that's ailing, as you can see on so many accounts. Take a look at this story.
Wakipandisha bei, parking watu watakuwa na park sana. Lakini sasa ndio imekuwa hata ni kama hakuna kitu wamefanya. So to me, hiyo kupandisha bei kwangu nasema inafaa kwa hivyo ndio at least watu wapunguze kuleta magari tao sana.
Ingepanda hata gharama ya maisha ingepanda kwa sababu hata petroli unajua next week itapanda. Kwa hivyo hata sisi mfuko yetu ingekuwa na shida kidogo.
Hiyo ni kudhurumu na tayari serikali imesimamisha high court wasa ikae ile vile ilikuwa juu sasa sisi ndio wataumiza zaidi.
Welcome back. As you can see, some reaction from various motorists on the hike, actually the doubling of parking fees right there. And for what very many people are saying is, at a point in time in our lives where you're trying to make ends meet, the economy isn't as it should be, the last thing you want is an overnight doubling in parking fees. What was your take on that particular scenario? Did you have to come to the CBD and pay the 400 shillings?
First of all, you know, like you've put it, I just woke up yesterday to see it, you know, flying everywhere. Parking has been doubled. There was no even an advance communique that, you know, this is what we are planning. But to me, that's not what really matters much. I'm not saying that doubling the parking fee is not something that will ail Kenyans. In fact, you know, it will. Most of them, you know, the people who are coming to the city who usually come and park, you know, it's something that will affect them in the long run. But to me, my concern is, even with that, what will change? If you pay 400, what will change? Is your garbage going to be collected on time? Are your drainage going to be, you know, sorted? What Mark is calling Nairobi Lake, will that be sorted? You know, what are we going to see? You're talking about somebody who is in office, first of all, no clear path of productivity, what is going on. CACs are complaining right, left, you know, offices are still vacant, you know, people still, you know, a lot of infighting, still the name cartel or cartels being thrown back and forth. So the question is, even with, you know, upscaling the costs from 200 to 400, what will change, Jeff? You know, that's a question. What will change? What radical changes are we expecting to see in Nairobi?
Right.
You know, I mean, we are 2 years, I think, 2 years plus, you know, into Governor Sonko's tenure at City Hall. What radical change have we seen? Right. You know, that's a question. And I think, you know, he can even decide to charge 1,000. If there's going to be serious radical changes in this great city, remember Nairobi is the 6th, if we go by that, the 6th greatest city in Africa. What is going to change? What is going to happen that Nairobians can be grateful for? Has he taken us to that journey? That this is what will radically change if you start paying 400 shillings tomorrow. I'm going to
jump to Mark and also play devil's advocate on that. With this particular doubling of parking fee, some were saying that, okay, probably he's trying to decongest the city. If you feel it's a bit too exorbitant, you leave your car at home, use public transport, free up the CBD, or park in alternative areas.
Free up the CBD for what?
For better movement, for people to come in and out and do your business.
Let's put it in perspective.
Would that have been the measure you should have taken?
Let me tell you. Half a good idea is not a good idea. And that's a problem with having a prison prefect for your governor. The truth of the matter is, he has not finished thinking, but he's acted. Let me tell you what finishing thinking is. If today you told me that there was a comfortable, safe way to move from my house to CBD and leave my car at home, I would take it. Okay? I would take it. But I am not going to leave my car and sit in a matatu where it's optional, where my phone could be stolen from the window, the guy next to me could drag me, the fare could change at the slightest whiff of rain, okay? And the driver could very easily drive me into a ditch, as a matatu did on Gong Road the other day. So you want to make it exorbitant for me to come to town because maybe you've benchmarked with Berlin and with London, and you've noticed that high parking fees tend to make people not drive into the city. But if we don't give them options, then you're really doing nothing. This is the same kind of thinking that you remember the day he did the experiment with the matatus turning around at Westlands, and we were caught in gridlock for 24 hours. This is the problem. You see, Sonko does not have the mental fortitude to finish a thought. You know how you have a train of thought? He has a bolt of thought. You know, Usain Bolt, quick sprint of thought. The truth of the matter is this. We do need to address the issue of congestion in Nairobi. Right. We do need to address the issue of why do we have one person in a car coming to town. And the only exception in this panel is probably Midiwo, because he has a driver, so there were two. You understand? But primarily, it's one person driving into the town, and that causes traffic. We need to think about it. Okay. But Sonko, where is BRT? There was the Nairobi Rejuvenation Committee. What happened to it? How many times did Sonko sit there? How many times? How many times, Sonko? Tell me. Did you even go once? Did you appear once? No. We have a line of lipstick on Thika Road. It looks very red and nice. But where is the BRT? Where is the bus that's supposed to be on it? Fine, we're doing an expressway. Good stuff. Where is the railway that's supposed to connect us? Right? The only railway that's working is Syokimau to town. Kwani people only live in Syokimau? What do people in Buruburu, what are they supposed to do? How many times does that train run? Those are the questions that we need to solve. Okay.
Let me get to Jakoyo on this as well, and even as I do that, the allegations you've made on him being a prison prefect are Mark Bichachi's.
He confessed. No. By the way, let me tell you, it is Sonko's position. He is the one who is on record, who said that he became a leader in prison. So I did poetic license. Prison prefect, it's called alliteration.
Let me get to Jakoyo.
His own speech.
Because we're looking at a county governor who seems like a power unto himself. No check or balance can be put.
Those are not Mark's views. I saw Sonko, I think he was in one of the TVs bragging to have led a prison.
Yes.
You guys said he was a leader in Shimolatewa, in the industrial area, committee. I don't know, he was the head cook. You know, when people, when somebody, a leader does that, what do you expect my son to think? You know, I have a son who used to admire Sonko. He said Sonko had a good hairstyle. Remember another time he used to dye his hair? I said, are you crazy? You know, and the other day he saw him washing himself with unga. Told me, Dad, I don't like that guy. You know, so, you know, we must talk about our leaders. It is what you see a leader doing. We must call them out. Like, why do we wake up at 4 o'clock to come here to sugarcoat bad things? You know, about a month ago, I came to town, and it is true, I have a drive, not paid for by taxpayers. I would advise you as a businessman to have one so you can create employment.
I actually have one.
Okay. So, somebody came with a clamp and clamped my vehicle, and the driver's in there. So you can tell that the driver, I mean, the people who work for him are as stupid as the country is being guided. Because when you are going to double people's parking fees, that should be a major debate in the assembly, because it's an imposition of tax. Can never be unilateral. Now the MCAs should be reacting. If I was an MCA in Nairobi, that is what I would use to make a name this morning. You know, they even tax everything. Why is there no proper thought process in this thing? You know, Jeff, you watch news because you're a newsman. See what is happening in Iran and in Iraq. A few hundred people have died, but they're saying the government must go. This is a case that requires that kind of action. Nobody will fix it for us. Nobody will fix it for us. When systems fail, I'm talking to you as a politician, retired somewhat, but a politician and somebody who reads politics. That politics is war and peace. If our leaders can't give us peace, the alternative will take place. I know of a lady who called me 2 nights ago, on Tuesday night. She runs a kiosk at Kenyatta Market. That kiosk has an eatery, a bar, and all those things. City council people have pounced on me, and I have licenses. They have taken my employees and my wares. You know, she showed it to them. The following day, she went to City Hall with the licenses. The employees were released. This is 2 days ago. So are we living, which republic is it? Is it banana? Is it, where is it?
And Jakoyo, even as you say that,
yes.
My question is, how do we check this particular governor who we've stayed for so long without a deputy governor? We even forgot that post is supposed to be filled. We just got an operative speaker the other day. The county assembly seems like they can't control him. How do we rein him back in?
You see, if you see the Nation today, Mutambai is being in the commentary about every Friday night alcohol, which even now 2 policemen are saying, even when the courts say, even when the police say this thing is unlawful, the police take around Kilimani, I'm told, they are demanding 20,000 shillings, take it or leave it, because they know they cannot take you to court because court has pronounced itself on it. Let me finish by saying this in Nairobi. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta cannot let Kenyans suffer like this. He is the president. There are some things he can do to stop Sonko from doing what he's doing. Because go to anywhere, you saw the riots in Eastlands about the potholes. Go to the Westlands area. People cannot drive, not because of construction, but the potholes are deeper than the new small cars, where the Ubers, which are very convenient. They can't go around Lavington. It is not right to have a leader on taxpayers' money and keep quiet. So I can tell you, we have no options. He can even obey a court order. disobey court order. It is the president. The way he was talking angrily, come and kick this guy who unconstitutionally has even refused to appoint a deputy.
Okay. We leave it at that as far as is concerned this particular morning. The buck stops at the very top on the president's doorstep as far as this is concerned. That has been your newspaper review this morning. Gabriel Muthuma, thank you so much for making time.
Asante sana, Jeff.
Asante sana, Mark Bichachi. Asante sana for coming. Honorable Jakoyo Midiwo, thank you so much for making time this morning. We take a short break. We are back on the other side as we get interactive. This is K24 This Morning.